Let's get some jersey ready. If you haven't watched the first video, that tells you about the settings on your machine, the needle you need, and how we treat the fabric. We'll cover it all a little bit here, but if you want to go in depth, check out this video. That is going to teach you the fundamentals that we're now going to use to create these seams. And so you can go on to make your own beautiful t-shirt out of your favorite jersey and knit fabrics. I have some jersey. This is sage green, pure cotton t-shirting jersey, just a regular, like this kind of weight, but it's made completely of cotton. And in my machine, I have dark black thread. I wouldn't suggest that. It doesn't go with it, but I'm doing it for the purposes of this video to show you so you can see with that contrast how the stitching all works using your home sewer. First thing I need to do is press a little bit of jersey and get some little tester strips ready to go. And when I'm pressing, I'm just patting with the press. I hold the press down, then move on to the next part, trying not to drag it too much across the actual knit fabric, because that will also pull and stretch the knit out of whack. Let's have a look at the anatomy of jersey as a textile itself, so you know which is right side, wrong side, up and down. You can see I've got a lighter side and a darker side. I'll tell you first, the lighter side, this is often called the pretty side as well of the jersey. This is the right side. And then you've got a wrong side here, which is slightly duller. The right side is made up of the wale, which is straight up and down. That's technically the straight of grain. And you can see here we've got vertical stripes going up and down. And if you look really, really, really closely, see here, we have little V's going all the way down. Do you see that? So this is the right side of the fabric, and these are called wales. Can you see them? They look like little V's, and they're separated by that stripe, the line coming down. This is the wrong side of the fabric, so these are called purls across here, P-U-R-L-S. There we go, we can see. So these are going horizontally. If you can see that, they're more horizontal. It's darker because there's less stuff going vertically, so there's less thread exposed to that angle of light. And this is the wrong side of the fabric. So there is actually quite a difference up close. Do you see that? You've got one's going vertical, one's going horizontal. Right side, wrong side. But it's more apparent often when you're standing back like this, and you've got a darker side and a lighter side. So that is how you tell the right and wrong side of your jersey. When you're setting out your pattern pieces on a piece of jersey, you obviously need to know the straight of grain and how to find that. What we just looked at, those vertical lines with the wales in them, that is actually called the wale. It's not like the animal, the whale, but a great way to remember it is that a whale tail is kind of V-shaped, and that's what you're looking for on the right side. The right side has the wale, and the wale tells you the straight of grain. So these vertical lines there, that is where you line your pattern pieces up to get them on the straight of grain, which is really important, especially with an amorphous, stretchy fabric like a jersey knit. The other side, you can see it better with the wrong side. This way, what we would call the cross grain on a regular fabric, this is called the course. And that is the loops that go across like this, creating the purl. So that is the anatomy of your jersey fabric. You've got your straight of grain, and the right side, it's all about the wales, the V's. And then the wrong side will be slightly duller, and it goes across the course, and that has the purls. So it's just slightly different language for the same things that we're looking for when we're looking at woven fabric and knit fabrics, and on a single jersey like this. It's time to do a bit of sewing. What I've done here, I have my whole sewing machine, and it is just set up on a regular stitch with a regular stitch length, and I've got a regular needle. So I'm going to do a bit of what not to do first. Some of you might recognize this. I know I certainly did when I first tried to sew jersey fabric. Put the needle in. That is a straight stitch, and already you can see it looks a little bit iffy, a little bit jumpy. Of course it's in black, so it's in quite a high contrast, but what it doesn't have is the ability to stretch with your fabric. And there you go, I pulled this a little bit, and right there I've got a snapped seam. So snapped stitches, you often will also get skipped stitches where it misses a few of them just because of the fabric. But because this can't stretch with the fabric, it's then stressed and pulls apart, and it does not work. So that's why we move on to the one that does work. Let's change out our needle. Changed out my needle. I've now got a ballpoint needle in there, or a jersey needle. And as you've seen, it's got just it's a little less sharp at the end there. The next thing I need to do is change the setting on my actual sewing machine. What we need is a zigzag or a lightning stitch. So on my machine, which is a brother, and it's the FS series, this is number 3, and that will work perfectly, especially with a width of 1. You can go to 1.5, you don't need to go higher than that. Also, if you want, you could use a plain zigzag. So you see on here, again on the brother, it's number 4. But you keep the width of your zigzag narrow, and that makes a much neater seam that won't show up as a zigzag from the right side of your garment. It will look like you've sewn this with a straight seam. And then what we do is we just turn the stitch up. So you can see there mine's at 2.5. I like to turn the stitch up by 1. I make sure any auto back tacking is gone, just so it doesn't crunch up the machine. And you've got tension to about 3. You want your tension nice and light. You don't want it too heavy, like you're sewing a denim or a heavy fabric, because we're sewing something very volatile and bouncy and wants to do its own thing, so we let it for a bit, to be honest. I've got my stitch right, my stitch length right, tension is all good. And then the other thing that you want to do is put a little bit of baking or parchment paper, whatever you call it, into there. It doesn't have to be that neat, the parchment paper, because this will all tear off in a minute. But I'm going to do a nice small, so this is 1 centimeter here from the edge, which is ½ an inch, just this distance here. And if I didn't use this parchment paper underneath, my machine would start to chew it up, and I'll show you that in a minute. But I'll do a nice little stitch here just for a second. When it comes to the actual sewing, the key is to let everything walk through nicely. It's like we're sewing on a curve in a woven fabric or on the bias. We don't push anything, we don't pull anything. You let the fabric walk through. The dogs will pull the bottom, you just work the top through, and it will all go nice and fine. Here is our seam along there. And you see it's lovely and flat on the right side. First thing we need to do is take off our parchment. You see that just tears away as easy as you like. And you end up with a beautiful seam that isn't, if I pull that, do you see how this popped on my straight stitch? That is staying nice and strong all the way along, and it looks completely flat on the right side. Now, to give you an example of what happens when you don't use your baking paper, I'm going to do a nice narrow seam, really narrow there, and show you what happens if you're not using something underneath to stabilize your seam. So I've got a really narrow seam in there, and you can see it's already disappearing underneath. If I lift this up and have a look down there, Do you see? That is getting trapped in there because I didn't use the parchment on the side. You can see here what's happened. It's just gone off the side and down into the machine. So that's why we use our parchment paper, because what's that? That's barely an inch I've gone, and I started going about a centimetre after I started that seam, and it's just gone absolutely off the side of the earth. This is why we use parchment, to stabilise the side of the fabric, but also just guard from this little hole down here that's going to eat up your fabric down there in between the feed dogs. Your needle is just going to push it down further into there. So that's why we use parchment paper. Now the question is what to do with your raw edges. One great thing about jersey is it doesn't fray. So if you've got a nice neat edge like that, you can just press them open. That's a great thing to do. But if you want to make things really neat, there are a couple of stitches you can use. All we're trying to do is hold this seam allowance together because it's not going to fray. So we're not really enclosing the raw edge in order to stop it from falling apart and fraying. We're just trying to make it neat so we can press it to one side or the other. So a great one for this is number 4 on my machine, and it is just your basic zigzag stitch, and you put it at a nice wide width, so maybe a 5, so it covers this whole area. There are more complicated ones, so you can do, obviously you could do an overcast stitch if you have your overcast foot, which on a brother machine is the foot G, and this holds your fabric in like that, and it's got a little bar under here, a little blade that sits here. So as the needle comes across, it does a little loop around that needle, which goes around the edge of your fabric and secures it. That's a really good one. So you use your foot G or the overcast foot, and you use it with the correct setting, which in my case is setting 6. That goes with G. You can also use this stitch just as your finishing stitch. You can see it's got the zigzag in it, so it's doing what we need it to do. So that's it. You now have all the skills you need to make yourself your own beautiful t-shirt, just like this one, with amazing pockets, all kinds of things. You're using your home sewer. All you needed to do is buy some needles and go and take this from the kitchen. I'm sure there's some baking paper in the kitchen. Everything else is about the handling of this volatile but beautiful textile. It really is. It's as plain as day for us. It's everywhere. I'm wearing it now. Everything I'm wearing is jersey. I'm wearing tracksuit bottoms. I've got a jersey t-shirt. There's a jersey t-shirt on my mannequin. My socks are knit. Everything we wear is knit. So it would be great if we can all start using it, because it's such a brilliant fabric to work with. Its natural stretch and its natural recoil, more importantly, snapping back into shape, is what makes it such a fantastic fabric. You can make your perfect t-shirt, the t-shirt that makes you feel good when you put it on. You can make your own comfy trousers to wear around the house, or a nice big warm hoodie out of this fabric, and it isn't as hard as we've always thought it is. If you're looking for a pattern to try out your brand new jersey skills, grab this oversized t-shirt pattern, grab the sleeveless crop top pattern. They're linked in the description below. You can get them right now and try out your techniques. They cover all the techniques you need to know about sewing most fabrics. So it's a really great little project to get used to sewing with jersey, and you end up with a great tee here with a little pocket on it, everything. It's a great way to try it out and get used to sewing with jersey on your home machine. A great simple top to start with, and then you just have to see where your inspiration takes you. I'm Alex, and I love to sew. If you like to sew, then follow along for more tips just like this.